I was still really looking at this as all about weight and macros
Mhm.
and not seeing the bigger picture of
Yeah.
healing, inflammation.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching our videos. If you'd like to support us some more, you can explore our homemade natural skincare products at purelytallow.com. Thank you so much for supporting my small business.
Welcome to the Carnivore Revolution. I'm Serena, and today my special guest is Anita. You guys probably know her as the Ketogenic Woman. She is a very healthy eater who eats a ketogenic lifestyle and also has an amazing YouTube channel. So make sure you check that out. Anita, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for asking me. This
I'm
this will
so
be
excited. So
me
excited.
too.
We met at the Wired for Healing retreat last week, and we had such a good time, and so we absolutely wanted to kind of get together and talk. And you have an amazing healing story and weight loss story, so I always like to start there so people
Sure.
watching know why we're doing this video at the very beginning. So you want to start there? Just tell your story.
Okay, you bet. So you might
It's
have to
okay.
edit this out. I
It's
have a
okay.
dry this I still have the residual dry throat.
Yes, that's okay. It'll be edited. It's fine.
Okay. Okay, yeah, thanks for asking, Serena. So my journey started about 12 years ago, approximately. I just decided one day I'd had enough. At that time, I weighed somewhere over 320 pounds. I had stopped weighing myself, so I don't know what that exact
Mhm.
number was. But it was large enough that it caused me, just difficulty getting through a day for many reasons. And I started off by doing an Atkins type of a program. That's all I really knew how to do. I had done Atkins in the past. It had worked, but I never really lasted longer than a few weeks on that. So I thought, okay, well, that's the only thing that's ever worked for me. Tried it again, and was losing weight, and then I just kept at it longer this time, and that worked fine until it didn't.
Mhm.
I hit, another one of those places where, okay, I either go back to nothing, gain it all back again,
Right.
or I keep tweaking. And luckily by then I started hearing about keto. And so I thought, okay, this is very similar. It had a little more focus on macros, and so I started going down that road, and that was working for me again until it didn't. And uh, I think the difference is that I was still really looking at this as all about weight and
Mhm.
macros and not seeing the bigger picture of
Yeah.
healing, inflammation,
Mhm.
that kind of thing. And the role that some of the food choices I was making, I was still heavily into my addiction, constantly eating keto treats.
Mhm.
I just keto brownies, sure, why not? But not realizing at the time that that was actually just keeping me active in
Mhm.
what I consider is my disease of food
Yeah.
addiction and obsession with food and constantly thinking about food. And so gradually I started to hear about carnivore. I had heard about carnivore, fairly early on through Kelly Hogan. And this was before YouTube, before there was a Facebook group. This
Mhm.
was back when there was chat rooms and bulletin
Yeah.
boards.
Uh-huh.
And at the time I thought, well, that's a little out there. It seemed very fringe, and I wasn't convinced it was healthy because I was still into that. Oh, well, we need fiber, we need vegetables, we need those, nutrients that come in all these fruits and vegetables. I didn't know any better. But as I started to learn more, and I dabbled in carnivore here and there, and then kept going back to keto, I just got to a point where I dove in.
Yeah.
I embraced it. I embraced the meat. That was probably about 3 years ago. I still have, of course, people in my friends and family circle that are concerned that I will, keel over of
Mhm.
heart disease one day, or, I get this, how's your cholesterol,
Yeah.
things like that.
Mhm.
And I want everyone to know I am healthier than I have ever been. I have more energy than I ever have. My cholesterol is pretty close to normal. My doctor, the last time I had labs done, she said, "Oh, well, nothing to see here."
That's pretty much what my
And
doctor says.
yeah, I'm 66 years old. I am on 0 medications,
Amazing.
and life is great. Life is
That's
great.
wonderful. Most people your age are taking at least a handful of medications. And so
I
that's a
know.
testament, right?
Yes, I know. I have many friends that are on a multitude of medications, and I feel like I feel like I'm stronger and healthier than when I was in my 30s and 40s and 50s. I started this in around my early 50s. So I would not have imagined where I am today. I actually wouldn't have. Because when I started, it was okay, well, I'll lose some weight, I'll feel better. That was it. That was all I was expecting.
Sure. Yeah. And then you get all of these extra benefits that you didn't expect, which is pretty awesome.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if
Yeah.
people would come to it um, for those extra things, for the health benefits instead of weight loss. But the truth is, most people come for weight loss. So, what does your doctor say? Does your doctor know about your diet? Does he say anything about that?
Well, she actually, so we have sort of a weird relationship because now I've moved, and here where I live, it's really hard. There's not enough doctors to go around.
Okay.
So many Canadians do not have a family doctor. She
Okay.
said she would remain my doctor until I find another one over here, but the waiting list is really long. So
Wow.
I'm kind of in between doctors and
Okay.
no in-house visits. It's
Mhm.
only phone. I've only needed her once, and that was to
Okay.
get an x-ray on my knee.
Uh-huh.
But so she doesn't actually know. I mean, she said to me one time, so you are eating vegetables, right? And I kind of, you know, I said, yeah, I kind of hedged it because I didn't want to get into it with her. I said, I eat whole foods and I try to avoid anything inflammatory. So it was sort of a half truth.
Yeah.
Because she's rather traditional, and you know what? I think I'm now at the point where if she did ask me, I would be truthful now.
Yeah.
Like if she does ask me, because I now see other people need to know about this too.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I'm kind of the same way with my doctor. The first year I was really like kind of sketchy about it. I didn't really just like come out and say it. But the last 2 times I have, and I can tell my doctor is stumped, like he really can't figure out why I'm
I
okay.
know. I know.
He
It goes
really
against
has a hard time.
everything. It goes against everything they were taught and
I know.
everything we grew
Yeah.
up knowing.
Yeah, that's right. So how strict are you now? Are you just like a total strict carnivore right now?
No,
Okay.
actually, I call myself animal-based ketogenic.
Okay.
Mostly that looks like carnivore. I have some seasonings, but I know which ones trigger me because I went through that whole elimination.
Okay.
Things like black pepper, anything that comes from nightshades can
Okay.
can trigger me. I will have some avocado here and there, and if there is fruit in season out in my backyard,
Mhm.
I'll have that.
Okay.
We have some raspberries out there, and but that's it. Like I'm not going to the store to buy fruit. I'm not actively seeking out anything, any fruit or vegetables. If I'm at a family dinner or something, I might have a few vegetables, and that usually calms people down when they see that. But I won't. But now that I know about oxalates, I'm not going to be eating spinach. I'm not going to be eating those sorts of vegetables. I avoid those like the plague. And I really love the little bookmark that Sally Norton gave us at the retreat because I keep it handy and I know
Yeah.
right away. So
Yes, I have one of those too. It's on my dresser, and I plan on putting it in the car and keeping it with me. But
yeah,
I typically don't eat any vegetables normally, but I think that can really come in handy at a time where I'm tempted, or I just kind of want to just eat what everybody else is eating, at a
for sure.
party or at my daughter's house, for dinner or something like
Yes.
that. Where if I took a few bites, I would like to know that where the oxalate level is on that. So I think that's great.
Exactly. I agree 100%. And the other thing is that with having a little bit of avocado or some asparagus, like any of those low toxic things now and then, I actually seem to feel a little better digestive wise, because I have a long history. I was on a medication for 15 years for acid reflux, GERD, as they call it.
Okay.
I can't even remember what that stands for anymore, but I've been off that for about 3 years now.
Okay.
And so now and then I get a little burny. And I find that if I have a little bit of prebiotic,
Okay.
that helps me. And
Okay.
and so I'm okay with that. So I'd like to say that it wasn't my goal to be a carnivore. It was my
Right.
goal to feel my best.
Right.
And if adding a couple of little things in here and there helps me do that,
Yes.
I'm not going to say no to that.
Yeah, I love that. So let's go back to the beginning of
Mhm.
when you were starting the low carb lifestyle, because I know a lot of people get nervous about it because people hear about the keto flu
Yeah.
and people start to think, oh my goodness, I'm never going to get to have cake again, or, whatever. How was that for you? Did you have any like serious complications, or did you have any serious cravings? Was it a hard transition for you?
Well, I, of course, kept those cravings alive by some of my choices. So,
Yes.
honestly, I mean, there are people out there who go directly from standard American diet to meat only, and God bless them, because I don't know if I could have done that.
Right.
I'm kind of glad that I had that little bit of a bridge, because low carb and keto at least got me used to having almost no carbs. I mean, I would always try to keep it under 20. So I had that little gateway, and I have no issues with people needing some of those transitional type foods. I mean, I every once in a while, for example, I get a craving for waffles. And it is something, that I liked having back in the day. So I just make it out of protein powder.
Right.
You can make it out of a clean protein powder, add eggs, a little bit of salt, and put it in a waffle maker and call it a waffle. I'm okay with that. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, yeah, just the meat on your plate," and that is how I am 99% of the time.
Mhm.
But darn it, if I want a waffle, I know how to make one.
That's awesome. So, would you have considered yourself in the past? Would you have considered yourself a carb addict or a sugar addict before?
Yeah, I
You
would
did?
have. Yeah.
So, I guess you believe then that, because I'm not sure what I think about this, but do you believe that somebody who is an abstainer, somebody who has to abstain from those things, do you think somebody that's an abstainer can become a moderator?
Um, I do actually, because I used to consider myself an abstainer, and I felt like I had to be 100%, there, and I did that successfully for quite some time. I lost, a good part of my weight by being an abstainer. But eventually, I found myself making mistakes here and there, some intentional and some not. And I just I feel like some healing has happened, not only with me physically, but mentally and emotionally. There used to be a point where if I strayed, even like say on my plan for that day, I was going to have 6 ounces of, steak, and I had 8 ounces. That was a cheat. And I may as well just throw it all out the window.
Mhm.
Like I had this,
Yes.
I was an all or nothing
Yes.
personality,
Mhm.
and I had to heal that, and I had to understand that when you're on a journey, and when you have 180 pounds to lose, the journey
Yeah.
can be long
Mhm.
and tedious. When you're on that long journey, if you get lost on the way, if you think about traveling across the country, going on a road trip, do you drive all the way back home and start again? You know, um, I learned, oh, no, you don't do that. Because I certainly did that a
Yeah,
lot.
me too.
And I learned that no, you stop and you reassess, you ask somebody for help, you go into a gas station, buy a map, or ask them, where am I? Well, how do I get
Yes.
there? That's hard for someone like me to do.
Yeah.
I'm kind of I've learned some things about myself along the way. I'm a perfectionist.
Yes.
Don't like to admit that I don't know the answer myself. I want to know all the answers myself, and it's been a hard lesson to learn that I'm not I don't know what I'm doing many
Mhm.
times, and
Yeah.
there are people that do. And whether you meditate on that, or you pray, or you talk to people, or do all of the above, I had to learn that. I had to learn that ask for help and it shall
Mhm.
be given. And that means I don't get to go all the way back home and start again. And
Yeah.
it means that I make a change,
Okay.
and I get back on the road, keep going.
I think that's amazing. And I love the analogy of, if you get lost, you go back home and start over. I just think that's great. And for me, I think if I ate one waffle because I wanted it, I think I would eat an entire box, of waffles. I'm not sure that I am at a point to where I can do that. And even when I've made the protein like waffles or pancakes, I tend to
Yeah.
overeat them. It's just I do the same thing with carnivore pizza, like all of the things. And I hear people say, oh, you shouldn't eat the substitutes. But honestly, the substitutes are nice on a night where we're ordering pizza for the family and I want to be able to have pizza too. I do make pizza and I eat a little bit too much of it, but not like I would if it was a regular pizza.
Yeah.
And so I would love to get to the point where I could do it one time. I could have one meal and not have it feel like a burden, you know?
Yes, so there was a time where I would have said exactly what you just said, that I
Yeah.
wasn't there. I
Mhm.
feel like I'm there now. So the other thing is that a lot of people who watch my channel, they're women. They are mostly women. I mean, that's what the YouTube analytics tells me, that a good 85% are women. They're in my
Yeah.
age group.
Uh-huh.
They are taking care of either aging parents, or they're taking care of grown kids that still live at home,
Mhm.
or a spouse. And not all those people are going to be on board with 100% perfection of whether it's ketovore, carnivore.
Yes. Mhm.
Those transition foods can make a huge difference. I have had emails from people saying, oh, my husband is finally on board with this because, I was able to make him a loaf of carnivore bread, or I was able to make him the noodles, or
Yeah.
the pizza.
Mhm.
Sometimes that's all it takes for somebody to change their diet from seed oils and all those other things to what they're having now, which is a proper human diet. And that may not look the same for everybody,
Right.
you know.
Mhm.
So I feel like, if there are people that think, that there's a wrong and a right way to do this, I ask you to rethink that and expand that a bit, because you're talking to someone who used to eat, Twinkies and chips and think
Right.
that was a meal.
Yeah, me too.
If I have a carnivore pizza,
A huge win, right?
yeah, it's a huge win.
Yeah. And I feel the same way about people who are just getting started and they're like, oh, but I don't want to have to give up my diet soda. Or, you know what? Keep the stinking diet soda then. I mean, do you feel like that too? Like if you're giving somebody the advice on
Yes.
how to get started, if there's like one thing that's going to keep them from doing it, keep it, right?
Keep it for now. Like I had it for a while too. I very rarely, I mean, I can't even remember the last time I've had any diet soda. I
Yeah.
mean, even when we were at the retreat, when Sean Baker was giving his talk, he said, when people come to him and they're just starting and they're giving up this, that, and that, and they're going to give up coffee and everything, he's like, whoa, whoa.
Hold on.
Maybe don't give it all up the first week. Like that,
Right.
start with the meat, see how you
Yes.
do, and go from there.
Yeah, and I think what happens to people is you start with adding extra meat in and replacing certain meals with
Yeah.
meat. And then you get to a point where you're like, well, if I feel this good eating with these things, how much better would I feel without those things? And then you want to give
Yes.
those up on your own, which I think takes away some of the trauma of
It
giving up
does.
everything that you love.
Yeah.
And
I
then meat
agree.
becomes the thing you love, right? Meat becomes
Yeah.
the thing you love. Meat becomes the thing you crave and your tastes change. And I think that's huge.
Yes, yes. I mean, I could not have imagined this at the beginning. And I am on the long waiting list in Canada for a knee replacement, but I'm not 100% sure I'm going to get it. I'm really thinking about that and giving it a lot of consideration. Some things have changed with my knee and how it feels. And so that may or may not happen.
Okay.
But luckily I have time. And then dinner is usually, I'll do a steak or a salmon fillet, or burgers and butter is like a real go-to for me. That's kind of typical.
Yeah, those are all superfoods. Those aren't the superfoods that people think of when they think of superfoods, but those are the real superfoods that are powerhouses of nutrition for us. And everybody should be eating all the things you just listed.
Yeah, I'm so seafood has been a new thing for me in the last year. I would say about a year, and the difference I feel in my pain. Like a year ago, if you had said what's your pain level on your knee out of 10, I would have probably said 6, 7 around there. Now it's 1 or 0 less. So, but here's where it comes out. So some people can go hiking for an hour. That is too much for my knee, but I can do 3 20-minute sessions in a day. Like I could go out for a walk more than once. If I limit it to 20, 30 minutes max, I get a little throbby in my knee, but it doesn't go any further than that. And so that's a change I'm willing to live with. If if my pain, if I can go for a 20-minute walk 2 or 3 times a day, be out, get active. I'm trying to get my 10,000 steps in. If I can do that kind of spread out throughout the day, I think I can live with my knee the way it is and not have to perhaps replace it. So that's kind of where I'm at on this whole thing. If I want to run a marathon or hike up a mountain, that's another story. But I think I can live without those things. I think I can just do what I'm doing and live a healthy life.
That's wonderful. So Anita, if you had one piece of advice for everybody, what would that be?
Well, I think like somebody who's starting or thinking of starting, I think it's going to be, don't worry about all the details all on day one. There's a lot to learn, and those things can happen over time. I'm learning new things every day, both about food, nutrition, lifestyle, wellness, and myself. I mean, learning is an ongoing journey. It's not going to all happen in the first day. Have patience. Think gratitude. I find that if I kind of go through all the things I'm grateful for at least once a day, I'm now writing in a journal. I've got it right here in front of me so that I remember to write things down. I find that helps. And I find that just know that if you hit a stall, I no longer think of it as a stall. I think of it as practicing for maintenance. Because so many times in my past, this is before doing all this, I would lose weight, I would hit that stall, and it's not working. And go back to my house and start the journey all over again from the beginning. I can't even tell you how many times I did that. But now, and I've been on some long stalls, in this 10 plus year journey. I've been on stalls for months where I'm the same weight and I no longer get frustrated by it. I'm like, wow, I've maintained 145-pound loss for the last 6 months. That is a miracle.
That's amazing.
That is a miracle. And if you start thinking of it in that way, in a positive light, it just feels like that is a miracle. You start to believe it. And it really is. It really is. Just think of it that way, and you become what you think about in those situations. And so I think I'm a walking miracle.
Yeah, you are. And I think that's wonderful advice. So remind everybody where they can find you.
So, my channel name is Ketogenic Woman. I have a website called Ketogenic Woman. I'm on Instagram, but not very skillfully. I'm trying to establish myself on Instagram. I've had the account for a while. I'm not very good at it yet. So I do all kinds of weird things like hang up on Kelly Hogan when she tried to call me the other day. Crazy stuff. Very embarrassing. So I'm learning. I'm still, I'm old school. These are things I'm learning about this whole social media thing. So.
Yeah. Well, I think your story is wonderful. I think your channel is wonderful. And I'm so glad that you were able to come join us today.
It's been a pleasure, Serena, and thank you for your purely tallow sample, because I've been wearing it every day, and we need to talk more about this on another time. So
yes, absolutely.
yes.
Well, thank you so much, and thanks for joining me, and thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on the Carnivore Revolution.